Welcome to Our Universe, Our Eternal Home, a show exploring the awe-inspiring adventure of human reincarnation from a humanistic perspective. I cannot imagine a more beautiful place to live than on planet Earth, for wherever you happen to live, around the world, from the north to the south poles, you can be sure to be within a terrestrial or aquatic region of great natural beauty. I believe that all geographically diverse continental, interior, coastal, and island regions of the world are equally beautiful, each in their own different ways. Personally, I happen to live on the coast of British Columbia, Canada, which is on the northwestern edge of the continent of North America, where I love to go hiking through temperate rainforests of giant cedar, hemlock, spruce, and Douglas fir trees. Also, I'm inspired by gazing at the heaving, swelling waves of the Pacific Ocean, breaking and thundering over rocky reefs off the west coast of Vancouver Island, as well as seeing the surf rolling in over sandy beaches. Enthusiastically, I go beachcombing along both sandy and rocky shores to discover a spectacular array of diverse marine life forms, including tide pool fish, crabs, sea stars, and sea anemones, gazing up in wonder at the soaring, craggy coast mountains of British Columbia, cloaked in dense coniferous forest, with cascading streams and waterfalls conveying snowmelt. I feel the awe, fascination, and wonder of being connected to the universe. Human beings are fundamentally set apart from all other animal species, in that only members of our species, Homo sapiens, possess a self-consciousness, the capacity to use language, and the faculty of human imagination, which has immense power and scope. By using our imagination, we can think of things that do not literally exist and can express ideas and experiences that cannot be rationally explained. Indeed, both religion and mythology are created through the human imagination. Our imaginative ability to role play by transcending our preconceptions and moods, to perceive the world through the eyes of people whose characters are very different from our own, is used whenever we empathize with a character in a television show or movie, dramatizing a story or myth. Whenever somebody reads or writes a story, myth, or poem, sculpts a human figure, paints a portrait, or whenever somebody acts out a story or myth through dance or theater. All children love to use their imagination to create make-believe scenarios with props and scenery by animating dolls, puppets, or action figures. Children pretend they are actually being characters, they are being fictional characters who are vastly different from the children themselves in age, character, and even species. I believe that our innate ability to walk in someone else's shoes by thinking like other people do, through transcending our preconceived opinions and emotional complexes, to imagine what it's like being other people whose characters are extremely different from ourselves, is evidence for the reality of human reincarnation. For it is through human reincarnation that everyone will actually become a wholly different person in his or her next life, with a new and unique personality or character, beginning with prenatal development, following the fertilization of a human egg within the fallopian tube of a randomly determined mother somewhere on planet Earth. There's also approximately a 50% probability that a person will have a different gender in his or her next life through reincarnation. However, I believe that every person's soul, with its integrated self-consciousness, will continue to exist eternally and express itself through infinite cycles of reincarnation. A person's self-consciousness is the awareness of his or her own existence as a human being with a unique soul, character, and body. It is the self-consciousness which determines a person's uniquely subjective perception of the world. Also, I believe that every person's soul is both immortal and inviolate, which means that each soul is free or safe from injury or violation. Human beings possess a vastly superior intelligence compared to all other mammals, which enables us to solve complex problems using abstract thinking and plan for the future, tasks which other mammalian species cannot do. And yet, for all the super advanced intellectual powers of reasoning at our command, we still hold on to our playful desires throughout our entire lives. In stark contrast, wild animals lose their motivation to engage in spontaneous fun and games after the juvenile stage of their lives, when they begin to focus primarily upon the serious daily struggle for survival in the wilderness. Finally, only human beings are filled with a desire to cultivate a religious life and are aware of their mortality. However, despite these vast, profound psychological differences between humans and other animal species. Modern discoveries in molecular biology have led us to confront the reality that the biochemical composition of the human body is very similar to that of other ape species. Both our own species, Homo sapiens, and chimpanzees are classified within the tribe Hominini. At the next higher level of classification, both our tribe, Hominini, and gorillas belong to the subfamily Homininae. Proceeding up the classification hierarchy, both our subfamily Homininae and orangutans are included within the family Hominidae, whose members are known as hominids. Finally, both our family Hominidae and gibbons are classified within the ape superfamily Hominoideae. Biochemical evidence indicates that both chimpanzees and gorillas are more closely related to humans than they are to other ape species. In addition, human DNA only differs from chimpanzee DNA by less than 3%. It is reasonable to make the claim that human beings, just like all other animal species, are inextricably embedded within and profoundly connected to nature, because the evidence in support of this claim is clear and abundant. First, we breathe the same air as other animals do. Second, the cells of our bodies are composed of the same carbon-based molecular building blocks, namely fats, carbohydrates, and amino acids, which constitute the cells of all other species of organisms on planet Earth. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. The specific sequences of amino acids composing the various proteins in our cells are encoded by genes in our cellular DNA. In fact, this is how proteins are designed in all organisms, from fungi to whales. It is also revealing that the various proteins of all organisms, from mosses to humans, are assembled from the same amino acids. The only difference between species is that the amino acids are arranged in different sequences. I believe that the human soul can only achieve its full potential for self-expression by inhabiting a physical human body in the natural universe. Also, I believe that a person's self-consciousness is integrated within his or her own unique soul. In practical terms, the human self-consciousness can only operate through a human brain and neural sensory network, which enables a person to subjectively perceive the world from his or her own unique perspective by using the 5 senses. It is thus reasonable to conclude that we are destined to remain forever within our universe, our eternal home, through the spiritual, intangible phenomenon of reincarnation. Although reincarnation cannot be observed, measured, or analyzed by using the scientific method because it is beyond the scope of sensory perception, it is still possible to develop a practical and progressive explanation of human reincarnation based on a humanistic perspective. that has a high probability of reflecting the reality of how this imperceptible phenomenon works.
A humanistic approach is based on a rationalist system of thought that places prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters. Humanism advocates the universally human values and rejects the dictates of theistic religion to uncritically accept the moral authority of a supreme, omnipotent creator God or that of any supernatural deity, as expressed in religious dogma, sacred texts, doctrines, or creeds. Theism is a religion based upon the belief in and the worship of either one supernatural, supreme, omnipotent creator God, as in monotheistic religions such as Christianity, or of multiple supernatural deities, as in polytheistic religions such as Egyptian religion. A deity is either a supernatural god or a goddess of polytheistic religions. People practicing theistic religions believe that either one supreme omnipotent creator God or multiple supernatural deities intervene in nature and influence the lives of people through either beneficial or destructive acts. Beneficial acts include blessing one person or a specific group of people, directing a particular force of nature to aid a human endeavor, or bestowing salvation. Salvation is the preservation from harm, ruin, loss, or the deliverance from sin and its consequences. Theistic worshippers may perceive beneficial acts as rewards for proper, respectful behavior, obedience, or loyalty to the moral dictates of a God expressing divine favor because the God is pleased with the behavior of its worshippers. On the other hand, theistic worshippers may perceive destructive events such as severe and extreme weather patterns, natural disasters, disease, and other tragedies as punishments or judgments executed by a God expressing divine wrath. According to humanism, all natural and unnatural events are caused by either the random forces of nature or by the independent whims, desires, and behavior of people on planet Earth. Therefore, these events are not caused by any supernatural agent or God. However, theistic religious values expressed by sacred moral instructions to practice acts of kindness, compassion, and generosity, especially by aiding destitute, sick, and disadvantaged people, are also values shared by humanism because these altruistic acts serve people by nurturing their spiritual growth towards reaching the full potential of their humanity and all the successful achievements that entails. These successful achievements include the flourishing of creativity and the generation of a diversity of ideas. Humanism is a worldview that embraces human reason, altruistic morality, and the just allocation of world resources, but rejects supernatural sources of divine authority and superstition. According to Bylaw 5.1 of the International Humanist and Ethical Union, humanism is a democratic and ethical worldview affirming that human beings have the right and responsibility to construct meaning in their own lives. Humanism stands for building a more humane society based on human and other values from the natural world in the spirit of reason and free inquiry through human faculties. An anonymous article dated from 1765 in a French Enlightenment periodical recorded the following: "The general love of humanity, a virtue hitherto quite nameless among us, and which we will venture to call humanism, for the time has come to create a word for such a beautiful and necessary thing."
Ultimately, humanism describes human nature as being inherently good and beautiful. I have faith that this is true, despite the harmful and destructive acts committed daily by people around the world. I passionately believe that human reincarnation is a real phenomenon which actually happens every time somebody dies because of the immortality and uniqueness of each and every human soul. My humanistic explanation of how reincarnation works is as follows. At the point of death, the soul of a deceased person transmigrates to inhabit a developing human embryo inside of a pregnant mother somewhere on planet Earth soon after fertilization of an egg within the fallopian tube, probably at some point in time during the first trimester of pregnancy. The specific human embryo targeted as being the physical host for the transmigrating soul during the next lifetime is randomly determined. But what about the source which creates and eternally sustains each and every human soul, and what is its nature? Investigations about the nature, significance, and purpose of the human soul are beyond the scope of science. Because these intangible, abstract realities can only be described within the realms of religion and philosophy.
According to German philosopher Martin Heidegger, being is a fundamental energy that supports and animates everything that exists. It is transcendent and cannot be seen, touched, heard, smelled, or tasted. Thus we cannot perceive being with our physical senses, but can only experience being acting in people, non-human organisms, objects, and the natural forces surrounding us as a spiritual response in our souls, which involves a profound psychological change and deep emotional feeling. It is impossible to define, describe, or classify being because it is not something finite, but is instead all-encompassing and omnipresent, which means present everywhere throughout the entire universe. The human mind can only comprehend finite beings, whether they are literal beings of nature, such as bears and fish, or mythological beings in the realm of fantasy, such as dragons and goblins. Paul Tillich preferred to think of God as the ground of being, which I believe is the term which best describes the truly ineffable ultimate reality, or source of love and life, which is too great or extreme to be described using language. Permeating the entire expanse of the universe, within and between stars, planets, moons, asteroids, and all other cosmic bodies and particles in the universe. The omnipresent ground of being can be thought of as the all-encompassing source of life and love, creating, nourishing, and sustaining both the spiritual and physical elements composing all life forms. Also, all inorganic, non-living elements in the universe, such as rocks, water, silt, clay, sand, gases, dust, lifeless planets, and stars, are also created and sustained by the ground of being. I believe that although all human souls are different from each other, because each individual person's soul, with its integrated ego, is unique, everyone's soul is composed of the same spiritual stuff, originating from the ground of being. Ousia is a Greek term meaning the essence or nature of something, that which makes a thing what it is. When applied to a person, it would be the substance or spiritual stuff composing the human soul. When applied to God or the ground of being, it means the divine essence that is beyond human understanding.
I believe that all individual life forms of every non-human species, from bears to bacteria, are each infused with a soul that, like the human soul, is created and sustained by the ground of being. However, I also believe that the ousia, or essence of the human soul, is fundamentally different from the ousia composing the souls of non-human organisms, because the human soul can only achieve its full potential for self-expression by inhabiting a human body. Thus, during reincarnation, the transmigrating human soul exclusively targets a human embryo to inhabit, animate, and express itself through. Rebirth is a concept of Indian religions, expressed by the Sanskrit word punarjanman, meaning rebirth or transmigration. However, the Buddhist explanation of rebirth is fundamentally different from my humanistic explanation of reincarnation, which I will simply refer to as humanistic reincarnation. I believe that the human soul contains the self-consciousness, which can be thought of as the ego, symbolized by the pronoun I, because the ego is defined as the conscious thinking self. Another way to express the fact that the human soul exists forever is to describe it as being permanent. The self-consciousness is also permanent because the human soul is permanent. According to humanistic reincarnation, the permanent human soul transmigrates after death towards a randomly selected human embryo, which the soul inhabits and infuses with the same self-consciousness that directed the brain of the deceased body during the previous lifetime. However, all memories of knowledge and experiences accumulated during the previous lifetime are lost with the death of the brain. A unique store of different memories will be gradually collected over the course of the new lifetime. In contrast, Buddhism claims that no permanent human self or soul exists. Therefore, according to Buddhism, transmigration of a permanent human soul after death does not happen. Buddhists express the belief that a permanent, unchanging self or ego does not exist by the term anatta, which means no self. It is my deepest conviction, based upon humanism, practical reasoning, and my love for our common humanity, that by the phenomenon of reincarnation, our souls will live forever and be perpetually expressed through an infinite succession of human bodies. Every new and unique lifetime will bring exciting new memories, a new family, a new home community, new creative endeavors, and new adventures on planet Earth. In the distant future, technological advances in transportation through outer space may enable people to travel beyond our solar system, explore the vast expanse of our galaxy, and directly observe planets outside of our solar system, which are called exoplanets. Further, scientists may discover that specific exoplanets provide the environmental conditions necessary to support human life. Such discoveries could lead to people becoming cosmic pioneers by establishing communities on these habitable exoplanets if the technological innovations required to facilitate such an enterprise will have been developed. Indeed, future human civilizations may evolve on habitable exoplanets spread throughout our galaxy within our beautiful, spectacular universe, our eternal home. Thinking about the prospect of reincarnation fills me with hope for the future? Does it inspire hope within you as well? My name is Adam. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you like it.